Hi everyone, this is Richard. Let's take a brief detour and talk about scoping. Specifically lexical scope. What a lexical scope means is that when you have a variable and it has an identifier and it takes a certain area of memory in your computer program, right? What happens if you have 5,000 variables? There's two problems, right? Number one is you have 5,000 variables and you need to keep track of 5,000 variables. And number two is it takes up a lot of memory. So what is helpful is that you can actually just get it in your memory and then you kick it right back out of memory as soon as possible. And so you don't have to keep track of as many variables in memory or in your memory from you keeping track of it. The equivalent, I would say, is that when you go to a restaurant, you would see a waiter or waitress, right? And so they would serve you. You may not remember their name because you go to a restaurant every day or something like that. So you may not know their name, or you may not know their name or who they are or anything like that. But you know them by their title, right? So you know them by their title. So, for example, string waiter equals, and then it would be a number of names behind it. So today it would be Bob. I hope this makes things clear. Sometimes I kind of go off on things. String equals Bob. Tomorrow it's Mary. The next day it is fill in the blank, right? So I have the variable, but every time I get it, I don't need to remember it outside of the restaurant. Once I leave the restaurant, I don't really need to use the word waiter anymore. So it's kind of like I almost forget the word. Right? So it determines when I'm going to remember a variable and how many variables am I going to use? Okay? Keep that in mind. Okay? So, because C# is meant for really, really big programs with lots and lots of variables. Let's look at our example right here. Let me simplify this. I'm just going to do something nice and simple. That was console.writeLine. I'm going to say there was an example I used before. I is less than 10, I++, int j equals 0, j equals j plus I. Okay? So why didn't I put j in here and I put it j out here? What scoping basically tells us is that anything in these curly brackets, okay, anything in the curly brackets, if it's created here, it gets deleted as soon as it gets out of here. All right, so that includes the I. I right here, after it leaves these brackets, gets deleted outside of it, because this is considered part of the brackets, okay? So it gets deleted outside of here. So if we don't believe it, we just put it right here and see, oh, what's going to go on? And it gives us an error. And the error is, I does not exist in current context. It gets deleted as soon as you leave. All right? So if I put J here, that's perfectly fine. But what happens is it gets deleted here. It gets deleted as soon as we leave. And so we don't really know what the value of J is either. It doesn't exist. But if you put it back here, since we created it outside of these brackets, it can be seen outside. So again, anything that's created in the brackets, as soon as it leaves, anything that's declared, I should say, anything that's declared inside of here gets deleted as soon as we leave, right? Because we don't want to keep remembering too many variables themselves. Anything that gets created outside of the brackets themselves can be seen within the brackets. Okay. Now, there are some exceptions here. Like if you create something outside in a different class or something like that, it won't be seen by another class. But and that's getting a little bit complicated. Why don't we just keep going forward from here? So that's the idea of lexical scoping. Okay. Anything in the brackets can see what's outside. Anything from outside can see what's inside. And what this lends to is that you can reuse variables. Right. So I can do this. Another for loop. We can do this all over again. But I can say, this one I want to be less than 410 or something like that. And this value of I right here, it's 9, right? It hits 10 at the very end, but here it gets set back to 0. Why? because it gets deleted from the memory. Okay, so that's the rules of lexical scope. I think lexical scope as opposed to like dynamic scope, I think was the other word. I don't even know what that means, but that's another programming language. Nothing we have to worry about right here. That's the whole concept. So if you ever have a problem with, wait a minute, why isn't the variable being recognized? Keep in mind, is it inside the brackets or outside the brackets? Okay, thanks.